and they easily fall. Heavy rainfall. Tornado watch still in effect for parts of South Carolina. Charleston still under a flash flood emergency. They had some pretty good flooding. The state of Florida issued 69 tornado warnings. The all-time record was 46. But I want to take a look. I'll show you all of these numbers. Florida, 6.5 million without power. Georgia, almost a million, 930,000. South Carolina, 166, almost 167. 45,000. Alabama. North Carolina, 13,000. That's a total of 7.67 million people without power. That staggers the imagination. But it's all going to come to an end, and it falls apart overnight tonight.
Yeah, Tom Sater, appreciate it. Thanks very much. Before Irma battered Florida, it left a path of destruction in the Caribbean. Millions are desperate for food, water, and other supplies. A lot of places in the Caribbean have not gotten the attention that they should. Talk to a witness to what's happening on one island there next.
It was wet, Jess. The whole room.
We the people are tired of being surprised with extra monthly fees. We want HD in every box and DVR, all included. Because we don't like surprises.
Yeah, it's like changing up the celebrity at the end to someone more handsome and talented.
Really?
And British.
Switch from cable to DirecTV. Get 4 rooms with HD DVR and every box included for $25 a month. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
What started as a passion to make something original has grown into an enterprise. That's why I switched to the Spark Cash Card from Capital One. Now I'm earning unlimited 2% cash back on every purchase I make. Everything. Which adds up to thousands of dollars back every year and helps keep my passion growing in every direction. What's in your wallet?
I count on my Dell Small Business Advisor for tech advice. With one phone call, I get products that suit my needs and I get back to business.
When you have allergies, it can seem like triggers pop up everywhere. Luckily, there's powerful 24-hour non-drowsy Claritin. It provides relief of symptoms that can be triggered by over 200 different allergens. Live Claritin Clear.
At Whole Foods Market, we believe in food that's naturally beautiful, fresh, and nutritious. So there are no artificial colors, no artificial flavors, no artificial preservatives in any of the food we sell. We believe in real food. Whole Foods Market.
It's like nothing you've seen. The power of Nexium 24-hour protection from frequent heartburn, all day and all night. Now packed into a pill so small, we call it Mini. New Clear Minis from Nexium 24-hour. See heartburn differently.
Congratulations to the CNN original series United Shades of America with W. Kamau Bell for winning at the 2017 Emmy Awards.
I think you'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I think you'd like it.
The local wine shop, a place where people go to get confused, frustrated, and end up picking pretty labels instead of great wine. Well, now there's a better way. At TastyRoom.com, America's #1 personalized wine club. Every bottle is selected based on your personal wine profile, and fewer than 1 in 50 wines makes it through our rigorous selection process. We're so sure that you'll love our wines that every bottle is backed by our...
Good evening, everybody. I'm Scott Binsack. It is September 12th, a little bit after midnight. Hello, everybody. Sadly, when I told people they would be millions without power, we're almost at 8 million people without power. People are telling me that I was fear-mongering again. I don't think so. And millions are flipping out in the Caribbean, and rightfully so. They have been forgotten by their countries, the territories, and even the Americans that were lifted from St. Martin have to pay for their rescue. The government is making them pay for their rescue. Go figure. The West Indies and the Caribbean are in havoc, and people will start, and already have started, to harm each other. Civil war will be breaking out rapidly in the Caribbean islands and West Indies. The keys are basically destroyed. Many are saying, well, we shouldn't have evacuated, while others are saying, yes, we should have. Sadly, it's only going to get worse. And if you watched my show last night, you saw that Scott from Planet X News was on, and together with others and one of our members' photos, we have proven that there is a brown dwarf with other planets around our sun. So today I've been investigating that and why this Nemesis brown dwarf and Planet X system has been hanging sort of like in a lull, and people can't get the timing of it right. Well, I think I figured it out. I'll be discussing that a little later in the show. And things are only going to get worse. Planetarily, financially, medically. The governments are into Texas. They're in contract when FEMA is called in, and the president has called a state of emergency in both Florida and Texas. That gives FEMA the power to run. And they are running these states. So many people keep doubting what's coming. Our magnetic poles are shifting as we speak. Pole shift is imminent. Collapse is imminent financially. Our government is broke already and in debt and will need hundreds of billions of dollars just from these two storms alone, and hurricane season's not over, and the earthquakes are not going to stop, and the United States will get hit with a big one. And winter's on its way in the Northeast. Around the world, they're having the same problems. And I predict that Japan is going to get crushed again and most likely will slide pretty much into the ocean. And I'm not exaggerating. And many people want to blame it on the government. Other people want to blame it on this, that. Well, it's sad for the whole world. It's not just sad for Texas and Florida. The Caribbean, millions of people are without water and food as we speak, and their countries are abandoning them. Tortola, here, I'm going to switch over to an interview from Tortola. And I used to live in the Caribbean and West Indies, so I have many friends there on many islands. It is havoc there. Havoc. Havoc. We can get rid of these commercials on here. It would be great. But there's an interview coming up with a woman from Tortola.
Was all I was doing. When I told my doctor, I learned Humira is for people who still have symptoms of moderate to severe Crohn's disease, even after trying other medications. In clinical studies, the majority of people on Humira saw significant symptom relief, and many achieved remission.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for
Tomorrow night, I have a special show at 7 p.m. with video guests, Scott from Planet X News and the physicist. Both will be on the show to discuss what is happening. Planet X, Nemesis, what's going on around our sun, pole shift, and some things I'm going to be going over tonight. So it'll be 7 p.m. in our private group. And it still amazes me that people still don't get it. People just don't get it. Yes, tomorrow night, Be a big show. Very big show, actually. Last night was a great show, the last hour especially, with what our discoveries were. And Scott captured some great shots from Sechi and that around the sun. And it is clear as day. So if you have not seen last night's show, you should at least watch the last, hour and change. It is 1,000% revealing. Jose's going nowhere unless they feed it. Right now, they're not feeding anything. If they don't think, Deborah, it's happening in their lifetime, I don't know what's explaining all the anomalies around the world. So it's happening in this lifetime. I will guarantee you it's happening in this lifetime. I'll put my life on it. Somebody sent me a list of the things that I've predicted correctly over the past year. I'm going to make it public and put it on a black background with the thing. Somebody sent it to me. I wasn't even keeping track. But I'm at 95% accurate. So, it's your choice. Listen or don't listen. I don't push it on anybody anymore. People either get it or they freaking don't get it. It's like those people now that are stayed it out in the Keys and other places in Florida. They're like, I'll never do that again. 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 Of course you won't. You were shitting your pants as that category 5 and 4 came across there. And even the 3. I'll never do that again. No, I don't think you will. All those that were partying down in the Keys, getting drunk, having a great time, they're shit out of luck. Most don't have food, power, some small amounts of water, etc. Dumb. Hi, John. How are you? Let's see if we're done with this commercials. Jeez, how much commercials can go on?
As Hurricane Irma blew right through here. Incredibly, the house is still standing.
The whole house started vibrating, like I felt it. I had my nose against the glass and everything started shaking.
They lost power and water, and their property is a disaster.
There were white caps in the driveway. We literally had waves in our driveway last night. Wow, it was unbelievable.
I feel like one man trying to clean the sand off of the beach, one grain at a time, and which one do you pick up first?
But their horses luckily survived.
The tree used to be this just big, magnificent, gorgeous shade tree that they really enjoyed, and now it's shredded. I look at it now and it looks like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. It's just pathetic.
Pathetic, perhaps, but the Borden family is counting their blessings. They survived.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are certainly doing that. Randy joins us now from Naples. How much structural damage, clearly, tree damage there. How much structural damage has there been in the areas that you were in?
Yeah.
Plenty, Anderson. In fact, we had to pull off the road when we saw this. This is actually Ace Oil gas station. You can see behind me there, just to put it in perspective for you, that piece used to be up there. That's basically the top of the gas station, and it just went over, and you can see it took, in the distance, some of the gas tanks down with it. And then this area right here is where you would drive through and pull up with your car to fill up, and now it's just a mangled mess. But this isn't the only structural damage that we saw. We found a trailer home today that had a roof blown off and a sidewall, and sitting right there was a television set, a big comfy sofa, and 2 big chairs right next to it. It was like an outdoor living room, almost like a stage set, Anderson.
Randy, appreciate you being there to tell us the latest tonight. Thank you. Up next, one of the hardest hit areas in Florida, Key Largo, where a lot of homes and businesses were destroyed, damaged. A lot of piles of ruins left after Irma roared through. We'll take you there.
Tell me you're going to give me another commercial. Okay, commercial break. Unbelievable. There could be people dead in the Keys, don't know. About 10,000 people stayed behind in the Keys. Fools, actually. And I'm going to say this again. This is just the beginning of how bad it's going to get around the globe. And the sun, our sun, is going to keep erupting with these large flares. And as they come bolting to the earth, you're going to feel it. And I have a deep feeling that our government is going to be creating a nice false flag having to do with a cyber attack and or EMP or combination thereof soon. We are actually going to get somebody, a couple people here that all they do is check the new world weather around the clock for what's going on around the weather for our new news channel. And just for world weather, to show people what's going on around the world, because most people just keep getting glued to what's going on here and not looking at the big picture. And the big picture's nasty. And there's stories coming out of the Caribbean where British soldiers have showed up from the UK, like to Tortola and others, brought 2 skids of plywood, some water and stuff, and that was it. There are stories from St. Martin with the French just sending, you know, basic X amount of troops and things, and now all these islands are going to be under martial law from their own countries, under government control. Both Houston and Florida, you're going to still have many in shelters. You're going to have millions. The millions are already out of power. It'll take weeks, even months, to get this power back on. That means no air conditioning. That means people, that means, you know, tempers will be flaring. This is just the beginning. And then the government has to pay for all of this while more is coming. What does a government do that has no money? And they just keep printing it, so to speak, from the Federal Reserve. Eventually it will implode, and it's at the implosion as we speak. The Rothschild family has been selling off assets around the globe, calling back in all of their gold. Rockefellers, other families doing similar. People need to pay attention to the big picture, because when these people start selling off and calling back their gold and demanding it, something is very seriously up. Sometimes I don't even know what to say anymore about people.
Florida. So we have a lot to cover over the next hour. We want to begin, though, in the Florida Keys, which took a direct hit from the hurricane when it was still a Category 4. Kim Yaw spent the day in the Keys. She's now in Miami, joins us. I understand you actually have to take a boat out to Key Largo because there's no way to access the island by car.
Let's make this clear. Key Largo is up at the top of the Keys. It's not even down into the main part of the Florida Keys. So where she is nobody's really seeing the acute damage to the Keys yet.
You're absolutely right. We were forced to. That is the only way to get down there with any sort of speed. And Highway 1, which is the way to get into the Keys, that is shut off. Some emergency vehicles are being let through. But the people who are down there, the people who decided to stay down in the Keys, and there are an estimated 10,000 of them, they are essentially cut off. So not only do they have damage to deal with, but we're talking about no power, dwindling food, dwindling water. This will rapidly become, Anderson, a supply problem. That's why we're starting to see the military come involved to do those supply drops and to start doing some rescues. Anderson?
And just in terms of the damage you saw, I mean, we've talked to a number of people in the Keys. Talked to the mayor down there. We just talked to a man who rode out the storm at a marina so he could watch after his boats and his neighbors' boats as well.
And that's just pictures of Key Largo. That's not the rest of the Keys. That's not the rest of the Keys.
Doing okay for water because they have water on the boats that remain. He's a little bit low on supplies. But just in terms of the structural damage that you saw, what was it like?
From the water, what we saw was we were surprised actually just passing around Key Largo that a lot of the newer structures seemed to be doing okay. We did pass by a bar that while we couldn't tell the extent of the damage, certainly from our vantage point,
nobody's sending in Sky over pictures of Key West, of all the keys down to Key West. There were no like overview shots really coming in. Again, they did the same thing with Texas. Because it looks like a nuclear disaster bomb went off.
Looked like it was pretty banged up.
This just Key Largo.
Major damage. That was miles and miles from where we were. We couldn't get down to that
like
area.
She's saying, she can't get down there.
That's a problem that has been plaguing this entire area. We did also meet a woman who did decide to stay, who decided to ride out the storm. Here's what she told us.
Why did you say? To do somebody's a favor? And I feel like I'm a fool. Now I know.
And not only does she feel like that, Anderson, she said afterwards, she just feels, quote, stupid. She would not recommend that for anyone. She says she is also stranded. She is wondering about how she's going to continue to get water to keep herself healthy. So again, supplies, Anderson, supplies. That is going to be the problem in the Keys.
All right, King, long road ahead for a lot of people in the Keys. Thanks a lot. Last night we got a first look at some of the destruction in the Keys with a before and after picture. I want to show that to you. On the left side of your screen is Bill. We were in front of Snapper's Bar in Key Largo on Thursday. People were there drinking and eating. 3 days later, Bill went back. On the right of your screen is that same location. Yesterday, the bar, or at least parts of the bar, are decimated. A short time ago, I spoke with by phone with the bar's owner, Peter Alpheus. Peter, I'm so sorry for what you and everybody else is going through and all your employees and all your customers, too. We saw the pictures of your bar, what it looked like before and after the storm. What's your understanding right now of the extent of the damage?
Well, one of my bartenders was today, I haven't been there yet, one of my bartenders was there today. As far as I can see it now, is the Turtle Club, so the bar most closest to the ocean is completely gone. The main building where we have our restaurant and where we have upstairs for hotel rooms is badly damaged, but it's still there. The office and the storage next door is still there, but I try to go tomorrow when the roads are clear and to have a better look at what we need to do. But for me, it's very obvious we will recover, we will rebuild. We will make it happen one way or the other. My first concerns goes out to our 80 employees and their families. That's why actually we already, before the hurricane started, we developed a hurricane rebuild shirt, because we're still online. We're not physical there, but we're still online, and we sell
10,000 may need evacuation from ravaged Florida Keys. Who's going to do that? The military.
Period to get things going, to get things working.
Peter, do you have any idea how long, I mean, based on what you've seen of the damage, and I know you haven't seen it for yourself, do you have any sense of how long it may take to actually rebuild?
Well, that's hard to say, because I do know construction work, but I haven't seen it yet. So as far as
I want to say something else. People need to pay attention to the troop movements by our government. Okay? The troop movements by our government, they have spread our troops all over and sending much more to Afghanistan and other areas around the world. Why? Because when full force martial law comes into play in the United States, they're not going to be using U.S. troops because there's not going to be enough. And they have been slowly, and they're almost completed disarming all the armories, the state armories. They have been removed, and they have emptied them in almost every state. Thus, the National Guard even and the state armories are empty. So let me ask you something. If we keep having issues in the United States, or we have an EMP, an alleged EMP, or major computer hack that shuts down all the financial system or the electric grid, and you have to have martial law, and we don't have enough troops because they're spread all over the world and they're pushing them all over. Obama started it and Trump's still going. You know who comes in to take care of the United States? The UN. And that's why you see UN troops on our soil. And I've seen them in Nevada training just recently and last year. They don't want U.S. soldiers here. And that's why they even sent thousands more, and are continuing to Afghanistan. There's no big fight in Afghanistan. It's bullshit. Don't need them in Syria. ISIS has almost been crushed by Russia and Iran and others. But I'm telling you, there's a massive war coming there. Just watch. And it's going to be between Israel, Saudi Arabia, the United States, with Iran, Syria, and most likely Russia.
Maybe about 80-mile marker up from here. It's hard to understand why we haven't got the service up, because the towers are up. It wasn't them. It's supposed to be a transfer station up about 20 miles from
This
here.
is just Key Largo.
Wet or something. We're waiting on the phone company to put that back together. They've been inspecting the bridges, Anderson. We have 42 bridges that connect us, and they have to have every one of them inspected by the FDOT. To make sure they were safe for travel, to bring the larger trucks and vehicles in. So we just got word that they were all inspected today, and they should be open for bringing in the trucks to help put up the power lines and repair whatever else is necessary. We need fuel. They'll be bringing fuel in, but we're not letting any of the residents back yet, because we don't have water or power yet, and we don't have any services for them. So we're holding them off. I know they really want to get back and check their houses out, but we really didn't hardly have any flood damage in Key West. Nothing like Wilma. This storm was different. There was a wind event, not water, so we fared real well with that. Obviously, anything that could be affected by wind, our boats in the marinas has damage. But other than that, we fared very well. The airports are both up and running now. No power, but essential emergency response aircraft is going to be able to start coming in. They got a C-130 coming in tomorrow with water and rations and food for the residents that stayed and the first responders. So everything's starting to come together.
That's Tavernier, Florida, right there.
Moving fast enough for us, but I want to thank everybody that's really working hard to bring this together.
Yeah, well, given what might have been, I'm glad that you're doing okay and folks are doing okay there. We'll continue to talk to you in the days ahead. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you very much for having us on.
As the Mayor Kate, just south of here in Sarasota, the city manager says about 60% are without power. Today, people who had evacuated started going home. We'll see what they found next. Also later, it is not a hurricane anymore, but it's not over yet. We'll go check in with the Weather Center to see exactly what's happening right now in Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, and what's to come.
Okay. Let's go into news.
Plano police say they have never seen anything quite like this in their city. A mass shooting, 8 people in
horrible here.
Dead.
2 other people survived the shooting. They're in hospitals. Dan Godwin is live in Plano with the very latest. Dan?
And Lauren, Plano police say they will provide more information about this horrific shooting at a news conference this afternoon. Investigators are still waiting to hear the identities of the victims. No names are being released, not of the gunman who is now dead, nor of the others who were shot. The house where all this happened is behind me here. The view is partially blocked by the vehicles that are here. You should be able to see some officers out in front. Plano police got the call about 8:05 last night. One woman who works near this house says she heard a loud argument between a man and a woman that went on for maybe 10 minutes. And then the man, she said, started shooting. 9 people were hit. 7 of them died. This happened at a Dallas Cowboys watch party. When Plano police arrived, an officer entered the house and then fatally shot the gunman. We spoke with a neighbor who was fearful for the safety of herself and her kids. She asked that we not show her face.
After one of the rounds of gunfire, we could hear the cops yelling, "Hands up, hands up." And of course, that's when we retreated more to the interior of the house, so we wanted to be away from the windows.
People have gone mad.
The rounds were very, very quick. There was probably about a 10-minute lull, and then we heard a third round of gunfire.
We don't know at this point the connection between the people in the house, whether it was a gathering of friends or some family members. All of the people hit by gunfire were adults. The 2 victims who were injured, taken to the hospital in critical condition. That's the last update we had on them. Spring Creek Parkway between Custer and Green Oaks is closed, will remain shut down through rush hour this morning and maybe for a couple of hours after that. Plano police are getting help in their investigation from Texas Rangers who...
I ask people, just hold your questions to the end. And no, I'm not worried at Atlas City about anything or the other sites. We are off grid, okay? No one's paying attention to us at Atlas City, I can assure you. You have martial law in this country, they're going to be worried about big cities, and that's why they're pushing people off the coast inland. They want them inland. They want them in cities inland and off the coasts. And that's why I'm telling you something's coming up with New York and California in the very near future. And it's not going to be pretty. People need to learn to worry about themselves and each other and stop worrying about the government.
Who are also here at the scene where there remains a very heavy police presence. Reporting live in Plano, Dan Godwin on Good Day.
Look at these guys. This guy could be getting ready to run them over and they're chasing them with phones just to get the thing in front of them. Civil unrest coming to the United States, more and more.
When I went to my computer to check my email, this popped up.
The message froze Martha's computer.
He said
Pay attention.
he wanted $149 to remove that message.
And when she called the number on the screen, she was warned not to shut that computer down.
I thought maybe they had gotten into my computer, all my financial information.
She feared, like a ransomware attack, she'd have to pay to regain access to her files. And she's not alone.
We usually see 10 to 15 people a day.
While some think they've been infected by the headline-grabbing WannaCry or Petya ransomware viruses, Nico Frainer of Best Buy's Geek Squad says most have been duped by malicious-looking pop-ups that are simply ransomware lookalikes.
Most commonly what we see are just the pop-ups that take advantage of the notoriety of the big-name ones.
He says it's relatively easy for a pop-up to temporarily lock your computer in hopes of scaring you into paying up, or worse, handing over access to your machine.
Easiest thing to do usually is just shut the computer down and restart.
And if that doesn't work, try force quitting any open programs by hitting Control-Alt-Delete. Martha smelled a scam, so instead of paying the guy on the phone, she brought her computer to Best Buy, where they fixed it in minutes. Julie Watts for CBS News, San Francisco.
Genocide.
It's a brutal civil war that's been raging since
China just opened a big base there, and the Americans are doing the same.
By the UN as ethnic cleansing, with early warning signs of genocide. Thousands have been killed in violence between Christians and Muslims. Is the Central African Republic descending into genocide?
Yes.
A country mired by civil war. It began when the mainly Muslim Seleka militia group toppled President Francois Bozize in 2013. They took power in what is a majority Christian country. Following abuses by
genocide to the Christians.
There were reprisals from Christian militias, the anti-Balaka.
Shelley, it's called frequency change.
With a force of just over 1,000 troops. And a peacekeeping mission from the African Union was sent to the country. Under this international pressure, the Seleka handed power to a transitional government a year later. But the violence continued, as has a humanitarian fallout. The capital Bangui saw its Muslim population go from 145,000 to just 900. Amnesty International called it a Muslim exodus of historic proportions. Even women and children are targeted by the anti-Balaka militia. The United Nations said there was ethnic cleansing of the Muslim population, and it constitutes a crime against humanity. Militias have splintered in different parts of the country, making the situation for civilians even more perilous than before. And the UN has come under intense pressure after allegations their peacekeepers sexually abuse children.
We're talking about some of the most egregious forms of sexual violence that exist. We're talking about 13-year-old, 14-year-old girls being gang raped by UN soldiers in uniform, with the blue helmet, with their guns.
The government has little control outside of the capital, Bangui, and both the UN and the African Union peacekeepers have failed to stem the violence. With no sign of an end to the fighting between Muslim and Christian militias, the spectre of genocide looms over this country, the horrors of which this continent has seen before.
What's this? Think the United States is the only place? Everybody paying attention. Flooding massive everywhere. Shelley, we don't need an island. I'm not buying an island. We have missile bases. We have Atlas City 1, 2, and 3 coming. Don't need to buy an island. That's the last place I want to be, is on an island during a pole shift. Sorry. No thanks. I don't want to be anywhere near water, and I love the water. And I never thought I'd tell myself that. I love the ocean. I grew up on the ocean, but I never say I would not want to be near the ocean. And if you're smart, if you live on any coastline, you will move. You will move. And I can assure you, you know what's going to happen to oceanfront real estate after these massive hurricanes, and there's more coming? Oceanfront real estate is going to go like this. That's also going to crush part of the real estate market. Okay? This isn't a joke. This isn't like build an ark and let's try to be safe. This isn't like let's go to an island. You need hardened shelters. There is a pole shift happening. There is a magnetic shift happening. I'm going to get into that in a minute after this news. I show it all the time, and now more evidence and more evidence and more evidence keeps coming out. People didn't believe me that you would be having these acute storms. People didn't believe me. If you're spinning, it's your internet. Okay? I wouldn't live near Lake Ontario at all. The Finger Lakes are going to come roaring down. If it's spinning, Candy, it's your internet. Move or float. Survive. Our survival group, it is survive or die. And I don't mean just physically. It's not so much to be physically die. I mean financially, spiritually, mentally, physically die. All around the world, survival will become the number one need. Fact. And those of us ahead of the game, oh well. Just saying. And I will guarantee you, give me 12 months with MFA News that we created and MFA TV, I will have members in every country reporting the news from around the world. Accurate, true news on what is really happening. And that is our goal. We have our own social site. We have our own forum coming. This is all in the works with a lot of people working on this. Our new grouping of corporations and organizations are changing our membership tiers. It is coming. As Jan Metz just said, I lived on the Gulf Beach for 15 years, never again, even on a riverbank. Very smart. You don't want to live near major rivers or the ocean or big, large Finger Lakes and things of that nature. The poles are shifting, and the magnetic part of the poles are already started to shift. You understand? It's like bang head against wall. Boom. Boom. You just have biblical storms hitting the United States and around the world. You just had a 9.0, and I'm telling you, it's a 9.0 earthquake. I predicted 6 hours before and a week before that they hit the Pacific coast in Mexico. And there are bigger ones coming. You're seeing solar eruptions that are massive and recorded in our recorded history. The radiation levels keep getting higher and higher, and that's why they're chemtrailing more and more and more. And people still care what Trump had for lunch. Or what Hillary Clinton's writing in her book. Idiots. Oh yeah. It's a crazy amount of rain. Storms are popping up all over. In Europe. Let's not even get into the European unrest that is happening in the parts of Europe, in the majority of Europe, with the Muslim growth. UK coming out of Brexit, with Brexit coming out of the EU. China and Russia joining together. You have two new world order factions fighting each other is what is happening. Unprecedented weather. Rome just smashed.
Meteorologist Eric Fisher of our CBS station WBZ is here again.
This is not normal. Hurricane season or not.
To break down Irma by the numbers, Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Gail. The storm not as intense as what we saw yesterday, but it has a much larger wind field, so that will affect a broad area of the southeast. It's not just the storm, but it's a big area of high pressure across the northeast. That change in pressure producing winds 450 miles across at tropical storm force. And tropical storm force is maybe not a major hurricane, but it's still enough to cause a lot of issues, bring down some trees, cause a lot more power outages. We've seen about 6 million of those already so far. So
I said 6 million the other day. People go, "You're crazy, Scott." Yeah, we're at 7 and growing. Actually, he's wrong. This is an earlier report. We're almost at 8, I'm sorry. It's actually 7.6 million at the moment without power. And word is coming in is that they've shut down the grids in a lot of places deliberately, okay, to make this worse than what it really is. And don't think the government won't do that.
You see the storm, rain bands coming in across Georgia, South Carolina.
If you look at Florida from space, okay, right now it's black basically. And up into the United States. There's no lights, just very minimal.
I want to show you some of the stats and some of the peak numbers from Irma. It has certainly been a very destructive hurricane for us. Strongest gust in the United States, 142 miles per hour. That was measured in Naples, right near the airport, right at landfall as we look toward yesterday afternoon. Storm surge, highest measured so far, Cudjoe Key. That was that first landfall in the Keys. It's between Big Pine and Key West, 10 to 14 feet. And we're really just starting to get the big picture of the damage down there in the Keys. Rain total, we've seen over a foot in spots of Florida.
Thank God the rain totals were only in like the 12 inches and not in the 50 plus inches like I said. I remember that. 2 days before that storm hit, I'm like, we're getting biblical flooding in Houston. Up and over 50 inches of rain, and we did. And people go, yeah, sky's falling. Epic fail to those people.
From central Florida up toward the Jacksonville area, that seems to be the band of the heaviest rainfall. There has been some freshwater flooding with that so far. So some impressive numbers on the board so far with Irma. We've had a couple of very destructive hurricanes back to back. In terms of any records here, well, it had 185 mile per hour winds, peak intensity. Remember back when it was toward the northern Leeward Islands, 37 hours at 185 miles per hour.
Record breaking.
Goes to 1966, but that's the longest that we've ever measured. It formed east of 35 west. What does that mean? Well, it's out by the Cape Verde Islands. That's really far out. We haven't had a hurricane actually strike the U.S. that started that far out since 1893. Hurricane 3. They didn't have names back then. And days since Harvey, we had landfall
16. There's that number.
Hurricanes within just over 2 weeks. The last time that we had a major hurricane before this season was 2005, Charlie. So we went over 4,000 days, then 16. How averages are made.
Eric, these are interesting questions. We've got some more of those. Would you come over to the desk and sit down with us and we'll talk about it?
Sure, no problem at all. Fire away as I walk on.
Well, as you walk, let me just begin with this. Jose is in the Atlantic. When do we expect it? What's its direction, and when do we expect to see it?
So it's in a bit of a holding pattern right now.
Like I just said.
For Irma to kind of
Stop. Jose is in a holding pattern. And if all of a sudden, and I've done some mapping over the past 24 hours and just even an hour ago before I came on, it's holding right there. And then if all of a sudden Jose becomes this massive hurricane, you can 1,000% guarantee that it was fed by the powers that be, the government. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, it's projected to go directly towards New York. Direct hit New Jersey, New York, Long Island, and up into Massachusetts and Maine.
Unwind. It's dominating the flow over the eastern U.S. It's going to drift between the Bahamas and out toward Bermuda, but in between the two, next 5 to 6 days. It's going to try to move back in as we look toward next weekend and early next week. So we have a ways to watch it, and it's still going to be unclear exactly how those steering currents are going to line up for a couple days yet. We need Irma to calm down, then we get a clear picture. It's going to come close to the coast, and I think North Carolina to New England would be the spot to watch.
Like I just said.
And what about this question that Nora asked in terms of climate change and global warming? Is it
Shut up about global warming, man-made global warming.
The number of hurricanes.
Maybe not the number of hurricanes, but maybe the intensity of. There are actually some theories out there. Carrie Emanuel at MIT saying that they might see fewer hurricanes, but the ones that form may be a little bit stronger. The reason for that is the ocean temperatures. Now, we've seen the water temps.
Now, the ocean temperatures are rising from the radiation, as well as underwater volcanoes erupting and warming the oceans. That is a fact, and bacteria is building in our oceans like crazy because it's warming up. Fish are dying. I mean, you're going to continue to see this pattern.
1 to 2 degrees above average, that can add an extra fuel to the fire. It doesn't cause hurricanes. We're in the peak of hurricane season, we expect them. But it may make the top end a little bit higher over time. We've had warm water for years and no hurricanes, so it's not the only factor.
Carrie Emanuel at MIT is essentially saying we're going to see more Harvey-type hurricanes where there's heavy, heavy rainfall, right?
Well, in a warmer world, we might see heavier downpours scattered.
A warmer world. Oh, there's a warmer world here, all right. And if they didn't chemtrail, even though it's killing humans and causing other havoc, if they did not chemtrail, Earth would be like living in a microwave. It is like living in a microwave now, but let's just say it's on low. Turn that sucker up, and that's exactly how it would be. So when Donald Trump, I'm a little concerned when Donald Trump says he wants to stop the chemtrails, because that tells me that it's time to radiate the planet. And that's scary. We're already radiating. And the way to prove that, and it has been proven, is we're going to be selling them, is a UV detector, to where you can move from one area to the other just at the sun, and you'll see the radiation levels of the UV and how it changes and how drastically it goes up.
About maybe some higher end rain totals. We saw those unprecedented numbers in Texas with that storm. So certainly something that has our attention, and especially with surge flooding. We know that places, as a fact, have higher water than 1960 when Donna came ashore. When you have surge, it's going to come up higher.
Did you like sitting at the table?
Thanks for inviting me over. I appreciate it.
Come on over, Eric. That's nice.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're on the thanks for the information.
Yeah.
Anytime.
And just wait for the diseases to start outbreaking. San Francisco's had a major outbreak of hepatitis C with several deaths, and it's getting worse. All of this combined, you're going to see disease outbreaks, wars grow, acute weather that we've never seen before or recorded in our lifetimes. Financial collapse. There is no more ifs, ands, or buts. It's here. It is here. And if you doubt that it is, I suggest you see a psychiatrist. Don't like what I have to say? Oh well. Oh yeah, nothing to see here. Wait till these people are all out of air conditioning for a few weeks in Florida. Watch what happens. Look at the water at the airport. Shelley, I'm not going to answer that question. That's a true question that's been answered for some time. Sorry to tell you. Okay? Yes, flesh-eating bacteria is in South Texas. It's going to be all over. People don't even know what's going on when you talk about MRSA and the others. There's such bacterial diseases you can't even. No antibiotic's going to stop. No bacterial. No, and people need to strengthen their immune systems. You're going to slowly see supplements disappear as well, and the FDA take control of supplements. It's been in the works for some time now, slowly. Population control. Fear. There's not enough money, not enough resources to sustain life on this planet. If it was up to the elite, the number that's out there is about 500 million on the whole planet. So where did the other billions go? Yeah, I don't care, Bobby. I mean, the storms are going where they're going, you know? It is what it is. I mean, real estate, listen, the only real estate I care about is the hardened structures we're buying. Bottom line. That's it. That is it. End of story. And in thousands in numbers, in an organization, we can do a lot and achieve a lot to help each other and sustain each other. And these type of groups are forming all around the planet. I want to bring you into a video now. Let's talk about Earth's poles. And then I'm going to go into a very special video that is just, you need to just, it'll be like a radio show to listen, because the information is so correct. And it talks about why, and this is, I'm going to get into this in a little bit, why we are seeing nobody's gotten the timing right on the Nemesis Planet X system. Okay? Because, and I'm going to be discussing it with Claudia, the doctor, tomorrow night, and asking her opinion on this, and some information that I got, and then strangely here I am researching for pole shift, because I'm going to do a whole show just on pole shift. And so people really understand what's going on and why we're seeing these planetary objects close to the sun, like Scott caught yesterday. I mean, it's 1,000% evidence, and other photographs coming in from around the world. But there's more to all this. And it does go to the planet Nibiru. It does go with the Anunnaki. And it does go that this planetary system had come in roughly in the early 2000s. It entered our solar system. We saw it for a little bit far away. And then as it came in, it sort of looped out. And now it's coming back in again and closing in. And it's sort of stuck right now. It's sort of stuck. Okay? And September 23rd is a very big date, biblically and planetarily as well. So I'm going to run this video now, and I'm asking everybody, you save your questions till later when the video's done. People, one thing I had to learn in my life is to listen more than speak. The more we learn to listen and learn, the better off we all are. And it's something I'm outright admitting that I had to learn to do. Thanks, Bobby. That means a lot to me. You know, I want to say something. Some people will say that I'm tough, I'm hard, I yell at people, I do whatever. If I didn't give a shit, I wouldn't do that. I'm a very passionate person. I'm a Scorpio. I'm born on Halloween. And I'm very passionate about everything that I do. And this is something that is very, very important to me. And after dying in an auto accident in 1999 and seeing what I have seen and then able to understand since then, I get mad because people don't want to listen, and or they have no common sense. And I'm not trying to put them down for that. It's how they have been raised in our society and even around the world, but more so in the United States more than anything, and in, you know, the UK and places like that, because of the propaganda from our government and the great New World Order machine. It's like 9/11. I was going to do a show today about 9/11 to really prove to you what happened on 9/11. I'm going to still do it, but not tonight. Because, I mean, people there, I can prove to you that 9/11 was an inside job. And you don't even need to show lots of evidence to prove it. Okay? And that, you know, it was created by the New World Order. And Bush was ordered to go along with it. Do you understand? He was a part of it. And it created and changed our planet and our country forever. And that's where Homeland Security came from. That's where the grouping of with this whole, all of our organizations together to protect the United States. Many, many things came from 9/11, and it was the gateway to what's coming next. Scott Cohen's on here? Scott, you're on here. Anyway. Yes, the Patriot Act. Yes, Jeffrey, you're correct. Temperatures will change very fast during a pole shift. And it's going to be without notice, meaning huge notice. All right, I want to play this for you. And then I'm going to go into a secondary one that's very important to really listen to, because the information in it, and I'm going to be discussing it tomorrow night in our special 7 p.m. show with Scott from Planet X News and Claudia the physicist, the doctor, AKA as they call her. Scott had some great shows from yesterday, you know, early this morning through today as well. And last night we, you know, uncovered some really good, I mean, he just incredible photographs. I mean, it is key information and proof. But I have this theory of why we're seeing that happening and why there's been so many different times, like Nibiru's supposed to be here then, here, there. It's here. But I'm going to explain why I think it's in limbo right now in space. It's sort of like what I say, limbo.
Humanity has a long journey ahead of it, and this is just going to be one waypoint along the path. But as with all journeys, they do have a beginning, and that beginning for us is that first dawn of awareness about what is to come. And for that, we go to the past. In the first program in the Planet X 101 series, Who, What, When, Where, Why, and How, we explained how the search for Planet X first began in 1781. However, the chronological starting point for our journey today is much closer to our own time. In 1940, a Chilean astronomer by the name of Carlos Muñoz Ferrada first began talking about an object he called Hercules, or what we know today as Planet X, or Nibiru. But he also talked about not one, but two objects. Hercules is the same planet Zecharia Sitchin, author of the 12th Planet, describes as Nibiru, according to his translations of the ancient Sumerian texts. And according to Sitchin, it is 4 times the size of Earth. But of even greater concern to us is the black sun, as Ferrada calls it. A binary twin to our own sun that is 56 times the size of Earth, and it is the core object of a mini constellation we call the Planet X system, which in turn orbits around our own sun, much like a comet would. Therefore, Ferrata is the pivotal figure in this program because he was the first professional astronomer to talk about the Planet X system, as we call it, back in 1940. The small sun he referred to as the Black Sun is actually a brown dwarf star known to present-day astronomers as Nemesis. Brown dwarfs are small protostars that lack the mass to sustain hydrogen fusion like Sol. Consequently, they are very dark stars and extremely difficult to find. It is why they're also referred to as failed stars. In fact, the existence of brown dwarf stars wasn't theorized until the 1960s, and back then they were initially called black dwarfs. Consequently, it wasn't until 1988 before the first brown dwarf was discovered, and as of 2012, over 1,800 of these brown dwarf stars have been discovered. We know them today as brown dwarfs thanks to American astronomer Jill Tarter, who first coined the term in 1975. It's interesting to note that the protagonist, Ellie Arroway, played by Jodie Foster, was based on Tarter's astronomical work.
If you remember last night when we were discussing looking at the photo that Scott captured, it had stripes in the object. And this is what a brown dwarf looks like with these stripes. It was definitely a brown dwarf that was captured by Scott from Planet X News. I mean, I'm 1,000% sure of that.
The modern hunt for Planet X began with the deep space probes Pioneer 10 launched in 1972 and Pioneer 11 launched in 1973. These missions established the existence of something of substantial mass because it had significantly altered the trajectories of both probes. In 1983, the infrared astronomical satellite, IRAS, was launched to image that mass. According to NASA, IRAS failed before the mission could be completed. However, several government whistleblowers have since come forward to say IRAS had in fact imaged Planet X. It is also important to know that the disclosures of these whistleblowers are consistent with the news accounts of that time. Most notable was a New York Times article published on January 30th, 1983, which states, "More credence was given to the hypothesis that a brown dwarf accounts for the mysterious force. Moreover, a brown dwarf in the neighborhood might not reflect enough light to be seen far away," said Dr. John Anderson of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. Keep that name in mind as we move forward to 1988. This is a 2013 capture of Dr. John Anderson's NASA biopage. So what we know about this astronomer is that he does indeed work for NASA, and that he has been following the topic of Planet X for years. Frankly, he's in a league of his own as the last of the honest NASA astronomers to come forward on this topic. In a June 14, 1988 interview with the Victoria Advocate titled Pioneer 10 Still Searching, Anderson is directly quoted as saying, "We have a 90 to 99% confidence that Uranus and Neptune are being disturbed, and by one candidate for that is a single Planet X."
Boom!
Sourced from the Google News service, Yowza.com first published this Victoria Advocate interview with Dr. Anderson on March 18, 2012, in an article titled "The Planet X Cover-Up in the Mainstream Media." Immediately after publication of that article, the entire Victoria Advocate edition for that day was removed from the Google News Service site.
Boom!
No doubt, our tax dollars at work once again. Redactions aside, 1988 was still a bellwether year for Planet X research, thanks to the efforts of Dr. Robert S. Harrington, chief astronomer for the United States Naval Observatory. because in October of that year, he published a paper titled The Location of Planet X. And here you see Dr. Harrington being interviewed by Zecharia Sitchin, author of The 12th Planet, for a network documentary. In that interview, Dr. Harrington showed Sitchin an orbital diagram for Planet X. Interestingly enough, in this illustration created by Dr. Harrington, we see the description, orbit of Nibiru.
Boom!
The very same planet that Sitchin maintains exists according to his translation of the ancient Sumerian texts. It is likewise noteworthy that Harrington commissioned the construction of a special telescope for a Planet X sky survey, which was conducted in 1991 at the Black Birch Observatory in New Zealand. Those observations were based on Harrington's calculations, and the films were delivered directly to NASA and never seen again. And in a manner of speaking, neither was Harrington. As reported in our Yowza.com article, Planet X and the Mysterious Death of Dr. Robert Harrington, this courageous astronomer died on January 23, 1993, from a rapid onset of esophageal cancer. Many believed he was assassinated, as do we. Today, NASA has replaced the Planet X research of men like Anderson and Harrington with a Planet X debunker by the name of David Morrison, a man who maintains that Planet X does not exist and who never misses an opportunity to humiliate anyone with an interest in the topic. So, in response to David Morrison, I offer my first Planet X article published in January 2002 as way of introducing a pithy insight from the man who helped me to write that article. He was Dr. Brian Geoffrey Marsden, and at that time he was a senior astronomer at the Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory. Regrettably, he passed away in 2010, and to honor his memory, I believe something he once told me is the best way to respond to David Morrison. The failure to observe an object only means that you have failed to observe the object.
Boom!
It should be noted that following the mysterious death of astronomer Robert Harrington in 1993, the Planet X topic went dark in the mainstream media because it had become a death topic. And with that, we now take a big step forward to the year 2006. On April 26, 2006, Yowza.com was the first to break the story on the South Pole Telescope in terms of Planet X.
South Pole.
The SPT, as it is commonly referred to as, is a 10-meter diameter telescope located at the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station in Antarctica.
Antarctica.
Simply put, it is the ideal infrared telescope for observing anything rising up from the southern skies, like the Planet X system and its brown dwarf. The official reasons given for constructing this telescope in the most inhospitable region of the world sound noble, but in fact do not justify the expense. The Amundsen Scott South Pole Station is only accessible by way of specially modified C-130 aircraft. Consequently, flying in the telescope and its support building was a Herculean effort. This is why the same exact science could have been done for a fraction of the cost elsewhere in the southern hemisphere. So why not save the money with a better location? Well, as we pointed out in our article, this was the ideal place to observe the southern approach of the Planet X system at that time. Then came the news we hoped for in 2008. A whistleblower posted Planet X images taken with the SPT on YouTube under the name Nibiru Shock 2012. Here you see the images he posted in his video that were captured by the SPT in January 2008. What is clearly obvious here is that we are looking at a mini constellation and not a single object. So let's take an enhanced look.
Now, if you look at the pictures that have been coming, that came in from Steven's friend in Tennessee, who has an incredible camera. Just recently, I showed them last night. You'll notice there's a red object, a white, a purple, and the others. I fully believe it's the same objects. And I fully believe, and when we're done with this video, I'm going to explain to you why it hasn't whipped around the sun yet, and why I believe it's hanging in limbo near our sun.
Look at these images. What we see is the strong infrared signature of a brown dwarf star, and between 5 to 7 planets in orbit around it, depending on how you define a planet.
Boom!
In this close-up provided by Nibiru,
notice the black hole in the center, or that is a moon in front of it, but I believe that's a hole in the planet, in itself, but that could be a moon in front of it, or a planet, excuse me, in front of it. That's what they're calling it. Shows a shadow of a large orbiting planet and moon, tail of a star now becoming visible. And this thing has a debris field with it, millions of miles deep, from what they say.
Shock 2012, he also points out that the brown dwarf has a tail. This can be attributed to the fact that Nemesis, the brown dwarf seen here in the center of the image, is surrounded by a massive dust disk. Ergo, if we could actually see this brown dwarf in space, it would likely look something similar to this animation.
Same thing we saw last night.
The problem this presents for us here on Earth is that at some point in the future, we will pass through this dust disk, if we're not already doing so. In addition to the January 2008 images provided by Nibiru Shock 2012, a second whistleblower came forward in May of that year with another SPT image. This second whistleblower named his SPT source in the video, and the government removed it within hours after it was up. With this in mind, we have redacted that information so that for the first time you can see what his source provided him. And this brings us to the final step in our pole shift chronology. On February 11, 2013, we published our YouTube video titled Object of Interest as Seen from the Turrialba Volcano. Using surveillance camera images captured from the Turrialba volcano, we began ongoing observations of an object I initially dubbed Blue Bonnet on January 7th of that year. The site for this surveillance camera is on the 10th parallel and at an altitude of approximately 11,000 feet with a clear view to the southwest. Our analysis also shows that this object entered the constellation Ophiuchus on December 1, 2012 and was well inside that constellation as of December 21, 2012. This means that the prophecy of Nostradamus for this object was in fact fulfilled exactly as predicted. Blue Bonnet, as we first called it, is near the sun, and so with all objects near to the sun, it can only be observed before sunrise or before sunset.
Boom.
Also note, we eliminated all of the expected explanations for this object, such as it being the planet Venus, which it is not. In fact, this is not a cataloged object, and it has been observed from this location with not one, but with 3 uniquely different camera systems since early 2010. Having captured literally hundreds of images of this object ourselves, we began to wonder if Blue Bonnet, as we called it, was actually Nibiru, the outermost orbital of the Planet X system. Well, we got an answer. On July 12, 2013, a video titled A Cyclical Storm Brews was posted by the 00 Skyview team. This highly capable group of amateur astronomers confirmed our suspicion that we had in fact been observing Nibiru all this time.
Boom!
In their video, they state, We have researched the object, and here are our findings. Here you see our object, Bluebonnet, which we now know to be Nibiru, and which has been observed since early 2010 from surveillance cameras at the Turrialba volcano in Costa Rica. Likewise, the 00 Skyview team also confirms that we first observed it in the constellation Ophiuchus. According to their findings, Nibiru, or Bluebonnet if you will, is the outermost orbital of the Planet X system. Please keep in mind that the celestial mechanics of what is going to happen in our near future are so complex that it's really impossible to say with any certainty exactly what is going to happen and when. But
that's why when we're done with this video, I'm going to give you a very recent video and a whistleblower. And after seeing the pictures over the past week and the findings, why certain people have been off on the timing of it, meaning when it's going to do its last pass by, its flyby of the closest to the Earth. Because right now it's hovering around our sun. And that's a fact. This whole system.
What we can do is give you an idea of the factors that are involved. We call them the Planet X system attributes, such as size, speed, and mass, and we're going to be talking about those. But first, I just want to take a brief moment to talk about, well, a different kind of attribute. It's the 6th plague from the 10 plagues of Exodus, and we're talking about the boils. Now, this is going to be caused by volcanic ash, and this ash will fall on unexposed skin, and if it's not washed off, will cause very painful boils. And so if there's anything that you're going to remember from this program, I want you to remember this one thing. When you get the ash on your body, wash it off. If you don't have water, use fresh dirt or clay, but wash it off. And now, let's take a look at those attributes. Parada.
Sorry, I'm just skipping through the commercial.
That for the first time, it really tore me up. Because as a Planet X researcher, I could see in my mind what he was seeing and in his mind, and it's hard. It presses down on the soul. Yet, there's just no way to know exactly what's going to happen, so the best thing you can do is to at least understand the celestial mechanics of it at a basic level. And that's what we're going to tackle next with Planet X system attributes. Before computers, we'd have to spend all day at the library hoping to get at least part of an answer to a burning question. But today, all it takes is a few keystrokes, and the next thing we know, the question is delivered to an electronic ether, and from there, back pops an answer. But once we have precise questions about when a certain thing will happen with regard to the Planet X system, what we get back is a rat's nest of orbital irregularities that cannot be reconciled. Why is this? In 1962, a Japanese astronomer by the name of Yoshide Kozai explained why it is so difficult to get a precise answer to a simple question. It is called the Kozai mechanism, and it describes the complexities of how the orbits of objects affect each other in space. It also tells us that the more objects you have, the more complex the solution becomes. And in the case of a Planet X system flyby, there is simply not enough computing power on the surface of the Earth to give a precise answer to a simple question. But beneath the surface of the Earth, such power may exist. It was recently announced that IBM has developed what are called fluidic computers, and they mimic the brain's design with liquid-based transistors suspended in an ionic liquid that acts much like the neurons in our brains. While we're only hearing about the civilian applications today, for the last decade, our government has been using several of these fluidic computers in underground facilities, and their computing power is simply awesome. To understand the power of just one fluidic computer, let's begin with a supercomputer such as those used by governments and universities today. Keeping this supercomputer in mind, imagine that you could multiply its numbers by 100 times to create a computing cloud of 100 supercomputers, all working together to process the same data. Then multiply that cloud of 100 supercomputers 100 times, and what you'll have is the computational power of just one fluidic computer. Is that enough computing power to unsnarl a rat's nest of quasi-mechanism orbital solutions? Only our government has the answer to that question, and as we know, they do not share well with others.
No, they don't.
Nonetheless, we humans have amazing computational skills because we have the ability to tap into cosmic consciousness, a powerful source that dwarfs anything possible, even with fluidic computers. Two such men who have tapped into the power of this cosmic consciousness are astronomer Carlos Ferrada
and Edgar Cayce,
the sleeping prophet. Like Edgar Cayce, Ferrada had a special gift. He could enter into trance when he was researching, and while in this state, he could write and draw the cosmic knowledge he received. It is how he developed his theory of geodynamics, which is based on the attractions of heavenly bodies, large explosions in the sun, and the cycles of geophysical disturbances. It is also why, when I see Ferrada's deep sadness, that it cuts me like a knife, because I know he has seen with cosmic clarity the coming flyby of Hercules and the Black Star, and it is not a wondrous thing to behold. Rather, it is horrifying. And with that, let's begin a simple overview of what we call the Planet X system attributes, beginning with speed. According to Zecharia Sitchin, the word Nibiru means the planet of crossing, and according to Ferrada, its speed when it's at its closest distance to Nemesis is 92 kilometers a second. Ferrada also tells us that when it is at its closest distance to our Sun, it is traveling at a speed of 76 kilometers a second. But what is really interesting is that while it is on the long legs of its journey, so to speak, Nibiru is traveling at a whopping speed of 300 kilometers a second. In terms of complexity, this makes the Planet X system a quasi-mechanism poster child on steroids. No wonder our government is spending vast sums of money on underground fluidic computers. Meanwhile, what will those of us on the surface see as Nibiru moves along its orbital path? Well, that depends if it's coming or going in its orbit relative to us. Astronomers use the term blue shift to describe what we're seeing when an object is coming towards us. With blue shift, the light waves are compressed, and so the object appears bluish to us. Conversely, when an object is going away from you, it appears reddish because the light waves become elongated. Ergo, when it's coming at us, it's blue, and when it's going away, it's red. In this January 23, 2014 image of Nibiru, captured with the third camera system installed at the Turrialba volcano in Costa Rica, one cannot help but wonder if we are seeing Nibiru turning back in its orbit around Nemesis. No doubt we will see more cycles of blue shift and red shift before this flyby of the Planet X system through the core of our own
Bravo
is over.
Exactly.
Which also explains the ancient Hopi prophecy called the Blue Kachina prophecy. The blue Kachina prophecy tells us that we will see a blue object in the sky which will be a harbinger of trouble. Following that, we will see a red Kachina, and it will cause a great suffering for us. The Hopi assure us that this happened before and that it will happen again. This now brings us to the attribute of size.
I want to go back for 1 second. I want to point out something that I just noticed in this Hopi painting. Whoops, hang on. Shit. Okay. Does anybody notice what's in the middle of this? Of the sun and the symbol? Okay. Remember we were looking at inner Earth maps and that of the Nazi symbol and where it's really what it really is? I want to show you something. Sheesh, I don't know why this did it this way. Sorry guys, it shouldn't have done that. If you look in the center right there, there's the Nazi symbol right there. And that is the same shape as the landing strips at Denver Airport, just so you all know. Denver Airport's the new airport with the secret entrance to our military's underground structures is that of a swastika, just so you all know. And you can fact check me. Jeffrey, no disrespect. I think this is pretty simple to understand, actually. And I'm not just trying to say that to be rude. I think this planetary system and what has been learned about it and what ancients have said about it, I'll trust what the ancients have to say more than what anybody from our government or scientists have to say. And they told it in the simplest fashion. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what we're seeing. And we've already seen it in its blue phase, we've seen it in its red phase, and it's going to continue to do that, and I'm going to get to that when this is over. And what was captured that's very close to our sun, or what looks is very close to our sun, and why?
We live on Earth, and so it is natural that we humans have an Earth-centric view of the cosmos. Consequently, when it comes to long distances in space, the core measurement is called an astronomical unit, which is roughly the distance from the Earth to the Sun. For this reason, we'll likewise use an Earth-centric model to define the sizes of Nibiru and Nemesis. According to Zechariah Sitchin's translations of the ancient Sumerian texts, Nibiru is the size of 4 Earths. And according to Carlos Ferrada, the Nemesis brown dwarf he calls the black star is the size of 55.5 Earths. Granted, when it comes to fishing and sex, size matters. However,
Yikes.
When it comes to the impending pole shift, it's all about mass. In terms of a pole shift resulting from a flyby of the Planet X system through the core of our system, mass and not size is the key measure. In his book, The Time Machine, author H.G. Wells presents a scenario in which our moon is fractured as the result of reckless mining and construction techniques. The result is that humanity is also fractured into the peaceful Eloi and the monstrous Morlocks who feed upon them. This is a very real scenario because of something called tidal force. To put this in context, imagine that the moon was to suddenly disappear.
And this is, people need to pay attention about an Earth wobble, as well as it sort of goes hand in hand with what's being discussed here.
In which case the entire surface of the Earth would collapse approximately 18 inches. No doubt, that would most likely result in an extinction level event for humanity. So in terms of a pole shift event, where the gravitational force of Nibiru and Nemesis gain a lithosphere lock on our planet, these forces will pull the skin of our planet around. Again, size doesn't matter. Rather, the pole shift force will equal mass plus distance. With this in mind, our best estimates for mass are as follows. We give Harrington's Planet X 2 to 3 Earth masses. For Nemesis, we place that at 24,726 Earth masses, and that's no lightweight. In the final analysis, what will drive the pole shift is what we know as the 3 golden rules of premium real estate. Location, location, and location. Ergo, where are we in relationship to Nibiru and Nemesis when they come closest to us during the flyby? Now that we've covered the basic Planet X system attributes, we're ready to move forward with a look at some flyby scenarios. Next up, we're going to present 3 different Planet X system flyby scenarios. Please note, these are not predictions. Also note that what does apply here are the 3 golden rules of premium real estate. Location, location, location. Where are we in relation to it as it is coming around the sun? Now, to help put that in context, we're going to first explore a concept called catastrophism. In my book, Crossing the Cusp, Surviving the Edgar Cayce Pole Shift, I present an explanation of how life evolved on this planet. It's called catastrophism, and it predates what we currently teach, which is Darwinism. Like creationism, catastrophism tells us that the cycle of evolution goes through long periods of quiescence, punctuated by brief moments of extreme violence which reorder life on the planet. Catastrophism, like Darwinism, is based on data, whereas creationism is based on belief. Therefore, there are no arbitrary time frames. This is because Darwinism and catastrophism are based on a deep time understanding of the evolution of life on our planet. And what we are about to encounter will be one of those brief moments of extreme violence that reorders life on our planet. But in our first scenario, we're just not going to reorder life on a planet, we're going to destroy it. Phaeton is a hypothetical planet. What happened to Phaeton was a catastrophic event that tore the planet apart, sending its fragments flying out into space. These fragments then became the asteroid belt that now exists between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. So, our first Planet X system flyby scenario will be a Phaeton event. Here we see Earth on the opposite side of the Sun, but poor Phaeton is a bone to be chewed as Nibiru and Nemesis close in on it. This, we postulate, was the destructive force that tore poor Phaeton apart. Visitors who take the Universal Studios tour of the Red Sea scene from the movie, The 10 Commandments, are given a great insight to a real feat of cinema magic. However, when we remove the magic and the allegory from the story and reorder the plagues in scientific order, the first plague of Exodus becomes number 7, thunder and hail. What the reordered story of Exodus tells us is that meteorite showers falling on us from the dust disk surrounding Nemesis is the first plague. This plague will repeat itself as Earth is pelted by this dust disk. We'll see meteorite showers the likes of which we could not imagine. The damage of these meteorites will be substantial and long-lasting because they'll contain something called schrebersite, a deadly combination of iron, nickel, and phosphorus only found in meteoric iron. The iron in the schrebersite is what caused the first plague in the biblical account, namely the turning of the waters to blood. To understand why, simply visit a local brickyard. They'll tell you that in order to make those wonderful red bricks we use to decorate our homes with, they add iron to the mix. This is why the iron in the schrebersite will once again turn our waters to the color of blood, and it will result in a dramatic reduction in potable drinking.
We've already started to see this in certain places around the world. over the past 6 months, and even just recently. It won't happen all at once, because, and I'll get to that at the end of this with this other very, very important topic about where this system is and why it's sort of stalled, where I believe it's stalled near our sun and sort of in space there.
Drinking water for all of us. Meanwhile, the phosphorus in the Schreber site, plus warmer surface temperatures, such as those we're already seeing these days, will trigger huge blooms of blue-green algae. These algae blooms will generate vast amounts of microcystin, which is highly toxic and can kill plants, animals, and humans. And here in our illustration of the Exodus scenario, we find Earth on the opposite side of the sun, just as it was during the Phaeton event scenario, with one notable exception. This time, there is no Phaeton. So what we've seen with these first two scenarios is that Earth was fortunate enough to be on the other side of the sun during this final stage of the Planet X system flyby. So what happens if we are not so lucky the next time? In a 2008 Project Camelot interview, government whistleblower Bob Dean announced that our worst fears would be realized during this coming flyby. That Earth would be on the wrong side of the sun as the Planet X system began its downward track back into the furthest reaches of our solar system. No doubt astronomer Carlos Ferrada saw this as well when he predicted that during this coming flyby, Nibiru will come within 14 million kilometers of the Earth. Consequently, the pole shift, as envisioned by Carlos Ferrada and predicted by Edgar Cayce, will happen for the very reason given by
Edgar Cayce's been 95 to 98% accurate on all of his prophecies.
Whistleblower Bob Dean, that Earth is just simply going to be at the wrong place and at the wrong time, and so it will be a real tribulation for humankind. First will come increased seismicity, which is already happening, followed by increased volcanism, which also is already happening.
Yes.
Then there will be the deep impact events that many of our modern astronomers and scientists are warning us about. And then will come the tidal forces of Nibiru and Nemesis as they gain a lithosphere lock on Earth. Then they'll pull the skin of our planet around. So now the big question is, will the pole shift happen in our lifetime? Put it most eloquently when he said, "Something wicked this way comes." So then the issue is, by what route, or trajectory, if you will? We're going to look at that next. But also we're going to look at something I call the backside. Whenever I do a podcast or a video, I always close with, "And this is Marshall, and I'll see you on the backside." So what is the backside? Well, it's when we see blue skies once again. So let's get started. This pole shift trajectory forecast begins with an anonymous hero, a government whistleblower only known to us as Nibiru Shot 2012, who first revealed images acquired from the South Pole Telescope in January 2008 of the Planet X system. In these enhanced images he presented, he shows us a brown dwarf mini constellation with its own planets and moons.
Do you see that? It looks just like what we've been seeing. I mean, come on. Right? Look at it. It looks just like, there's the purple, there's this. I can go in quickly to the picture. Let me go into the MFA Underground group. Let me go into the business manager so I can sign in there. And I'm going to show you something that we discussed last night. There's the picture that Scott captured from Planet X News right there with this major, major outburst from the sun. But I want to show you this other picture that came in from Tennessee. Just hang on. This is a fake story, by the way. Okay? This government guillotines, this is fake. Okay? So, just so you know, I'm deleting this. It's fake news, and I don't like fake news on the wall. So, jeez, is it still there again? Adam posted this picture. See this? Hang on, I'm going to have to change back and forth here, so I apologize because of the screen to go into what I want to show you. Adam posted this picture near the sun. There's the hole in it, and there's that. I'm going to just show you this, and then I'm going to show you the key picture that I want to show you. S3 solar, strong solar radiation storms in progress. Excuse me. I don't want to get off topic here because I want to show you something, and I just got to get into the photos of the group. This is our private group, so we don't usually. But this photo is key. It's not just Scott's photo from last night. It's this photo right here. Now, this photo right here is key, and this is somewhat far away. Believe me, this is not. These are big objects. So, looking at this, I'm resharing this video for a reason, okay, that I'm showing you, because people need to have the basic understanding of what we are discussing, and some seem to forget it. This photo from Tennessee, from a friend of Steven's, who always gets good photos, is almost identical in setup with the purple planet, the other planet, and here that is shown from the infrared. And there it is, just floating, so to speak, hanging out. It's just hanging out near our sun. Okay? It's just hanging out, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. Again, I'm going to say, people need to listen. Be patient. You want answers? I'm going to give you the answers. Just hang on a second. I have to reset up. And it's key that I showed you that picture because you'll see.
With its own planets and moons. And what is interesting is that this brown dwarf has a tail, which tells us it is going to be an awfully dirty
He's
planet.
just repeating himself here for a moment.
Then on October 10, 2012, the 00 Skyview team released their video, A Dark Binary Star, and the object they were viewing with a highly advanced amateur telescope bears a striking resemblance to the one captured with the SPT in January 2008, and there are others. On July 28, 2013, we published our video, Planet X System Observations and Orbital Analysis, with our own observation of Nemesis made by Jorge Arena during a business trip to Lima, Peru. On the last leg of his journey from El Salvador to Peru, he captured this rare image of Nemesis through the...
Boom! Does this not look... This is in 2013 now. And this is why I'm going to explain people thought Nibiru came and went. And it sort of did. I mean, it did. Okay? But not fully come around the sun and go. And that's why I'm going to get into this. This looks very familiar to pictures that we are seeing today and being captured, but much larger are the planets. Okay? Much larger are the planets. And this is from 2013, but much bigger. Okay? Let's just stay with me here.
The clouds at the sun's 7 o'clock position. Then on January 10, 2014.
Boom, 2014. And last night, yesterday, Scott captured even closer, and he's captured photos like this as well. Now look at this, okay? Now this is in 2014, okay? If we look at the picture from last night, this object is much closer to the sun than just right here, okay? And we're in 2017. Now just stay with me now.
YouTuber Stargazer Nation posted a feed capture from the Soho Lasco C3 camera.
2014. Scott grabbed one just yesterday and several before, but this is probably the best one, and our sun has been acting beyond worse than ever with its X-flares.
In it, we clearly see Nemesis, or the Black Star, as Carlos Ferrata called it.
There it is.
Again, near the sun's 7.
Boom. But please notice, it is not as close as to what Scott captured yesterday. The one yesterday captured is almost kissing the sun. This one is not. But that is the system quite far away from our sun, believe it or not, in 2014, as far as space distance goes.
O'clock position. Frankly, we were amazed to see that he got this imagery.
Look at
as
that.
We routinely see these kinds of images.
Look at that. Now it's right up on the sun's ass, okay? And it's an identical object. So stay with me, guys. Okay?
Grubbed off the Soho site nearly as fast as they go up.
This is a large mass. This is not just the Black Star Nemesis. It's a whole, and there's Earth scale right there sitting next to it. So you see that? Okay, this is still far away, but you can see the tail on this thing, and the size of this is really, really large. Okay.
But like they say, the early bird gets the worm. And so our hats are off to Stargazer Nation for a brilliant piece of...
Look at that. And you can actually see the same object. Look at the nipple that we were looking at last night. Do you see it? Do you see right up here at the top, the same photo that Scott captured near the sun, but right up the sun's ass, right there? You see this other, it's like that high plateaued area right there where my mouse is. It's the same object. Okay, it's the same object, and you can see it moving to tail. There's another moons, the planets with it, right out in here, and the like. This is still far away at this time. All right, so when people are doubting what they're seeing, and if I were to quickly, I can adjust my video that I just put up on YouTube is right behind this, right to the right side of this, and I'll go right back to this because I want to show you something. Give me a sec. And you'll see. I'll adjust over to here to my video with the picture of Scott. I used it as my thumbnail, and of course gave him credit for it in it. I hate when people do things and they don't give other people credit for it. But I want to show you the picture from last night that Scott captured right off. And then we'll go right back to this. Boom! You see that there is the same object with the high part on it, just rotated in the opposite way, which is fine. This is a big object and a planet, and then another moons, and it right around it. Okay, where'd my mouse go now? Come on, mouse. Hello. All right, so you guys are staying with me now. Do you see how close it is to the sun now as opposed to 2014, and we're in 2017? Okay, so there it is. This is such evidence, and this is where our erratic solar activity is coming from, and these massive X flares. You can see this thing just going like this. Right, the sun is just attaching to that brown dwarf, just like that. And it's also reacting to the other planetary objects with it that are close by. And there's another one there, and another one there, and another one there, and they're strung along just like everybody's been seeing. So when people doubt this, you must have, I'm going to give you the best evidence I have. Okay? And this is no coincidence. So now if we go right back to that, you can see this object right there. Same thing, moon. This is a large, large span, and we're looking at 2014. And now look, boom. It's right there acting up because it's reacting to our sun. It's connecting. Boom. The plasmas are connecting. And people better say, holy crap. And when people don't say, holy crap, it's like, for real? Whew. You got to be kidding me. The evidence doesn't get any better than that. It's not going to suck what's left of the sun dry. Don't worry about that. People need to worry about it passing by and the magnetic connection that it's making and what it's going to do to Earth. Okay, and what it's already started to do to Earth. Okay? This is no joke. So, if we go back here,
of citizen journalism. He nailed it. The Nemesis brown dwarf star is the smaller companion to our own Sol. And like Sol, Nemesis has its own planets as well.
Boom.
Of particular interest to us is its outermost planet, Nibiru. We first reported our observations of Nibiru on February 11, 2013.
And he's repeating himself for a reason.
Video, Object of Interest as seen from the Turrialba volcano. Our observation efforts began in mid-December 2012 with an email from an expatriate who lives at the base of the volcano. We subsequently began observing this object on January 5th, 2013, which I initially named Bluebonnet. We tracked it from a surveillance camera at the top of a Costa Rican volcano located 10 degrees north with a clear view to the southwest, called Turrialba. We tracked it a few hours before sunset each day for months and amassed hundreds of image captures from 2 different surveillance camera systems. Early on, we suspected it was Nibiru, and on July 12, 2013, the 00 Skyview team posted a video titled A Cyclical Storm Brews, confirming our suspicions. Their finding was that we in fact were observing Nibiru, the outermost orbital of Nemesis, in the constellation Ophiuchus. That being said, the linchpin for this pole shift trajectory forecast is not Nibiru. Rather, it can only be one object, Nemesis.
Boom.
For this reason, we'll use the January 10...
Now pay attention, because then when I get into the second part of this, it's going to be, you know, so people really understand.
2014 Stargazer Nation capture of Nemesis from the Soho Lasco C3 camera as that linchpin. And so here is our pole shift trajectory forecast, starting with the Soho observation in January of this year. Here we see Nemesis and Nibiru in conjunction with Earth on the opposite side of the Sun, with Nemesis just below the ecliptic and Nibiru just above. Keep in mind, Earth is already seeing evidence of increased solar radiance, resulting in a corresponding increase in seismicity and volcanism.
And this is he's talking from 2014 at 2014. And if you look at the numbers from 2014 to now, it has just continued to ramp up, ramp up, ramp up, ramp up, ramp up, ramp up, ramp up. And now you see Nemesis, as I just showed you, extremely close to the sun and up its ass and reacting with the sun.
Also keep in mind a 2008 Project Camelot interview with government whistleblower Bob Dean about the coming of Nibiru. In that interview, Dean was quite explicit in his statement that the flyby would occur while Earth and Nibiru are on the same side of the sun. And so our pole shift alignment forecast is for some time after.
And he says in this video, and the reason why I'm showing you this, it was for 2016. Okay, and I'm going to explain this. I would have never thought it would be 2016. Okay, and I'm going to get into that reason why, and I think I found out exactly why. It's here, okay, but it's not on its flyby yet. So we'll get to that as soon as this is over.
After 2016.
Or after 2016.
We are also very certain that sometime in 2016, both Nibiru and Nemesis will be naked eye visible from everywhere on Earth. This will likely be about the time Nemesis reaches its point of perihelion with Sol. In other words, its closest distance to...
No, they're a year off. A couple of years off. Well, year off. They're seeing its very closest distance is coming upon us now.
Our sun. The pole shift event will occur when Nemesis crosses the ecliptic on its outward leg to the furthest reaches of our solar system. At this point, both Nemesis and Nibiru will be in opposition to Earth, and that is when their combined tidal forces will gain a purchase on the lithosphere of our planet, thereby causing a pole shift in which every major body of water will come out of its basin. During this time, we will see both Nemesis and Nibiru, and our planet will also be pelted by the Nemesis dust disk. Also, there will be catastrophic interactions between our sun and both Nemesis and Nibiru.
Well, catastrophic what? Between our sun and Nibiru. I'm going to play that again, what he said.
Catastrophic interactions between our sun and both Nemesis and Nibiru.
Catastrophic reactions between our sun and Nibiru. We on the same page now? Okay, our sun is reacting horribly and bad, like with the worst, X flares, you name it. We could go down a line. Now, let me finish now. Stay with me, because there's another key part of this. Why I believe there's still time, and I'm going to explain to you why with this, what's going on. Just let him finish this up.
Resulting in catastrophic solar storms, which will scorch the surface.
Catastrophic solar storms. They're already starting. I can go back to the picture that Scott just captured yesterday, and that's not the first one. X flares, you name it. Solar flares, geomagnetic storms are on the acute rise as we speak.
Of our planet. This will be a time when we need to take refuge below ground. Likewise, there will be terrible impact events all throughout this.
We have started to see more fireball uptake. We have started to see more meteorite activity just in the past 2 months alone, and in the past 2 weeks. We've been sharing videos from around the world just in the past week. Okay?
Fly by. And these will leave lasting scars on the land.
The large earthquake, just earthquakes on the ramp, and large, massive one just in Mexico. These 2 acute hurricanes that have broken records. Biblical flooding around the world.
And turn our summers into long winters. But worse yet will be the earthquakes created by this solar onslaught and the ensuing volcanism. And for those...
The solar onslaught. That means the reaction between the system and our sun, and that's what has just been highly captured by Scott from Planet X News yesterday, and as we discussed on our show last night, and he even has it in close-ups as we showed, and he showed it on his own show today.
Living along the coastlines, death will befall them with...
Oh, what does that look like? Living along the coastlines. Okay.
Walls of hydraulic sandpaper, grinding them apart. Then will come the coup d'etat. a catastrophic pole shift event that will be as harsh for those living under the ground in the safety of their bunkers as it will for those living on the surface. The elites will suffer harshly as well. And in these times, we will see old lands fall beneath the waves as new lands rise up, and once Nemesis and Nibiru are beyond our sight, we will look up to see an ugly sky. But remember, this too shall pass, and in the fullness of time, this ugliness will fade away from human existence as we enter what I call the backside.
Okay, we're going to stop there. And I'm going to reverse this video.
Pole shift. New shot.
Stop. To this. Okay? Now, yes, Kenneth, as I have said, it's going to get worse and worse and worse from here on out, and people just don't seem to want to listen. Fear. Fear. And you know what? I have to say something. I have to say something. I'm not afraid of this. I can't explain to you why, but I'm not afraid of it. Okay? I'm not afraid of it. I am not. But I know it's real. And I know the governments are working to try to prevent this shift, this occurring from happening. That's what's going on up there. They're trying, with every bit of technology that they do have, whether with the aid of other beings or the like, to prevent this. I'm almost positive of it. And unless they can shift us out of the way or shift it out of the way, which I don't think that they can do, things are going to continue to get worse. Now, I know it's late, it's 2:50 in the morning, but this short video will now come in, and when we get to the point that I want to point out, and it's very specific because I want to ask Scott and the doctor tomorrow night at our 7 o'clock show what they think of what this man has to say. And he's an alleged whistleblower, which ties into some other information that I have that I discussed with Scott today on the phone. So I ask you, I know it's late, but to be patient, to listen to this video. And I end up finding these when I'm looking for something, and it happened to come along today after what happened last night and what I've just shown you. So please be patient and just really listen to this if you want to take notes even, because there's a key part of this, and I believe this is why we have yet to suffer the full consequences of this system on planet Earth.
Shocking evidence points to Earth's pole shift. Is a reversal of the Earth's magnetic poles taking place? Volcanoes, earthquakes, strange noises from the sea. New shocking evidence points to a pole shift which, if it happens fast, will cause chaos around the world. A pole reversal.
If it happens fast. If it happens slow, it's still going to happen, but not cause as much damage to planet Earth. And this is why I believe they're trying to slow it down. So please listen to this, and this is just fits into, it's an anonymous NASA employee speaking.
So, when the Earth's north and south magnetic poles start to swap places, reversing the world's magnetic polarity has happened before. Scientists who track the history of the planet have identified 74 of these events by studying core samples.
Now, there's no pictures in this, just this, so don't panic like you're not seeing something. This is like a radio show with just this showing, so just listen to the words of what he has to say.
These are extracted from hundreds or thousands of feet down in the ground and in the thick polar ice. A sudden shift would throw the Earth's balance out so significantly it could trigger lethal earthquakes, tsunami on a scale we can hardly imagine, capable of washing right across the United States and every other major landmass, volcanic eruptions so large and widespread that the resulting ash clouds and gases could blanket the sun's rays and trigger a new sudden ice age. Scientists look for evidence of previous Armageddon-style destruction by identifying chaotic sediments where narrow layers of earth, rock, and ice record oddball events in the Earth's history in the form of bands of mud and tiny magnetically charged fragments. To scientists, these are clear indicators of sudden floods, ice melt, or ash deposits. When this is found outside a long period of the cycle of freezing and melting in the Earth's history, it is an indicator of a pole shift. Pole shifts cause a major increase in the movement of the tectonic plates, the giant lines of opposing cracks in the Earth's crust which push and grind against each other until they periodically release like a balled fist in a closed palm flicking upwards. There are now signs amongst the sharp increase in natural disasters and other strange, apparently unrelated incidents which point towards a possible reversal. It is widely recognized that magnetic north, that point at the top of the globe which compasses and devices which depend on magnetic navigation rely, is shifting increasingly quickly towards Russia from its current position above Greenland and nearer to Canada. It has moved 400 kilometers in the last decade and is accelerating. Our sun swaps its north and south pole every 11-13 years and has just done so. The effect on the sun is to stimulate the number and intensity of solar storms which can have a major effect on the Earth. They can interfere with TV transmissions and power supplies. Other signs which might indicate the effects of a magnetic reversal between magnetic north and south are an unprecedented 7 volcanoes which have started to erupt around the world in the last few days, and a major spike of 7.0 magnitude plus earthquakes, almost all of which I have witnessed personally a few days after the event as a documentary maker. The cycle started in Indonesia in 2004 and occurred again very recently in Nepal. These sharp increases in seismic activity do occur every 30 years or so and may be part of a natural ebb and flow, but they are another aspect of what could be a major trend in the light of the relentless and quickening march of magnetic northeast away from its original position. Pole shift _Renal plus National plus Park. USGS and NASA are very concerned about a new magma chamber the University of Utah have discovered recently under Yellowstone National Park, in addition to the enormous lake of molten rock and iron they already knew about. This one is an astonishing 11 times the volume of the Grand Canyon.
Yes,
a
Kenneth.
Pole shift could become the push the magma chamber with the surface area of Los Angeles needs to blow up. If it does, most of North America would be destroyed instantly and a new ice age would begin. Another story which begs the question what on earth is going on is a 300-meter, 900 feet, high island which has appeared from the seabed just north of the tip of Japan in just one night.
Pay attention. An island has appeared off the tip of Japan in one night. And that was a little while back. Okay? There are other tectonic movements and islands appearing, i.e. continents appearing, so to speak, all across the globe. You just have to deeply research they are there. They're not talking about them much, but the one with Japan he's mentioning. And yes, this is a recent video.
This area was the origin of the 8.9 magnitude earthquake which ripped through Japan in 2011.
Not like recent as of like yesterday, or 6 months ago, but it's recent enough. There's a point in here I'm trying to get to, so please just stay in here with me.
One of the worst tsunami of all time. Sections of crustal plates which suddenly move under enormous heat and pressure which cause earthquakes and tsunami have been known to move dramatically, although it is often never seen as it occurs miles down on the seabed. A new shelf 800 kilometers, 500 miles, and 60 meter, 180 feet high, appeared off the west coast of Indonesia in 2004 which triggered the infamous tsunami wave which swept completely around the Earth's circumference 3 times. The new Japanese landmass appeared at almost exactly the same time as the Nepal 7.7 magnitude earthquake took place 5,000 kilometers, 3,000 miles, away at the opposite end of the Eurasian tectonic plate. Finally, the weirdest account of nature behaving strangely are reports of a strange humming noise coming from the sea. Scientists have explained this as the effect of the currents running through the oceans. Planet X and Earth pole shift.
Now he's going to get into Planet X and pole shift. So just listen, because there's some key piece in here, And this is something I want to, as I stated, bring to the attention of Scott and the doctor. Because I think it explains why this system is sort of stuck at the moment. And I believe the Earth's rotation has slowed down. And that's why you're seeing the moon go past very fast. If you could sit outside with a timer on your camera and just watch how fast the moon goes, zoop, 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 just disappears. Zoop, zoop, zoop. That means the Earth is at a wobble, and it's also slowed down its rotation. And that is key as part of all of what we're discussing here. And the same thing with the sun. If you watch the sun, it's like do 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 do. And you really, when I say that, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but what I mean is, if you had a clock with a timer and you timed how fast it goes, we have slowed down.
Will it happen? Planet X passes by Earth in its elongated 3,600 plus year orbit of two suns, one viable, the other a dark gravitational mass. Planet X, we know it is there in the glare next to the sun, hidden from view, but when will it come into view? Let's first look at what that means with some Zeta Talk science. The orbit of Planet X, PX, is a sling orbit, or an orbit that is oblate. It is this way as Planet X has two foci, our Sun and its dead binary twin, which are 68.7 trillion miles from each other, therefore a slinging between two heavenly objects and not a round or elliptical orbit shape characteristic of a single foci orbit. This sling orbit makes our Sun and Solar System only a pass-through point within the sling orbit circuit, see above image. This is important to understand. This means that Planet X is bound to pass by Earth since its orbit path extends beyond our solar system. Hence, once outbound, Planet X will continue moving away from us for several years, then do a turnaround for its return.
Boop, stop. Because of this trajectory, and I think this is what people are missing here. They think it comes around, grabs on, just goes around the sun and then goes whomp. No, I think it comes around, gets up around there, and then as he says, you see it, and then it goes away, and then it comes back. Why it's doing that, I'm going to let it get to the point.
Trip for its outbound portion of its sling.
Hang on, I'm going to go back again.
Once outbound, Planet X will continue moving away from us for several years, then do a turnaround for its return trip for its outbound portion of its sling orbit to the binary.
So, and that fits with what's taking place since the early 2000s. Started to see it. People thought it was coming in 2012, including our own government. And then it sort of went thump. And now you see it up kissing the sun. Thump. And now wait, let him finish to what he's going to say.
Great win. Zeta Talk says that this return part of the cycle takes Planet X through our solar system again on the far side of the sun.
Again on the far side of the sun. And that goes with the Hopi prophecy again of you see the blue and then the red. Now just wait. There's more important part coming up.
But where will Earth be at that time in its orbit, and why does that matter? Well, we are stopped now in orbit and we hardly know it. Yet
we are stopped now in orbit and we hardly know it. And I agree with that.
Will we be stopped again? How will Earth be affected? The Zetas don't say, but they do say it will be much less of a problem for Earth, and no second pole shift, just some worldwide earthquakes at the time. Earth, Planet X and the Sun. Earth halted its orbit in December of 2003 but is slowly being
2003 it halted its orbit.
Pushed backwards due the also stymied, but very slowly progressing Planet X. The Sun is the orbital foci of both planets and remains as part of the lineup sustained by the laws of orbital dynamics. The Earth, Planet X and Sun lineup explained. Since Planet X is sling orbiting our Sun, it passes through our solar system relatively close to its foci, our Sun.
It passes relatively close to our sun. What I just showed you. I mean, Scott grabbed it. I just showed you, and you saw it in 2014, and now it's coming closer. Now it's almost kissing the sun, and the sun is reacting horribly to it. So now wait, there's even something more important here.
As an aside, many millennia ago, this was not the case. The Planet X passage area was within the asteroid belt, which used to be populated with a few planets, but they were broken down into the asteroids that are there now. Now, when Planet X entered our solar system in 2002, it was temporarily visible far from
2002, temporary visible, correct.
The sun, from our sky view perspective, but that was only for a few months as it quickly traversed the inner solar system. Image number 1, where it met the sun's gravity repulsion force, slowing its progress dramatically.
The sun's, this is the key words, the sun's gravity repulsion force. If you watched my show last night, I'm just going to stop here a second. If you watched my show last night, I said to Scott and everybody on here, I said it looks like Planet X, i.e. the Nemesis System, almost got shot out of the sun, like boom. It grabbed onto it and then it went and threw it away, meaning pushed it away again. Okay? I believe the sun's gravity repulsion force, as this object gets closer to the sun is reacting to it and then poof, pushing it away. And that's where you're getting these great solar flare-ups where it's coming closer and then it gets pushed away. Then it starts to come back again and it gets pushed away. So right now it's battling with our sun, and I believe that's what, as he's stating, slowing it down. Okay? And I believe that's something that they did not count on. And I believe that's what's been stalling it, so to speak, this battle with the sun. Because the sun's, key word, gravity repulsions force is pushing it away as it's trying to react with it. It's going boonk. And that's what you saw on the video last night. And I'll quickly show that when I'm done here. But you'll see it. It goes boom. Scott made me here. I can actually show it to you now. So I don't get... because let me just go to my personal Facebook because it's in... it was sent over. Okay, give me 1 second because I'm going to pull up the video, the short slow-mo video that Scott made. And I'm going to prove my point. Hang on, I got to shut this down. He had me going while he was... Okay, now give me 1 second. Now I'm going to show you this video, and it's going to be what I just said and what this gentleman just said. And I believe it is the sun's gravity repulsion force reacting, and it's slowing down this approach and closeness, and this may be a good thing. Now let me finish. Let me blow this up, and now you're going to watch what I'm saying. It's not that it disappears from the glare like originally thought. It's being repulsed away from the sun. Boof. And I've done a lot of research today on the sun's gravity repulsion force as I heard it in this video, and I'm like, ding, ding, ding. And as he talked about, Nibiru showed itself in 2002, then went away fast, and then it's come back, and, you know, it's come back and back in, and this is what's happening. So it's sort of like in limbo right now, with the sun trying to repulse it, it's trying to go forward, and it's battling. The system is battling with our sun, and it's causing this major flare up with our sun because the brown dwarf is grabbing onto it. So now watch the video. Let's do it slowly. Scott did it slowly. Hang on, I got to get in there. Sorry. Yikes. Where did it go now? Ugh. Piss me off. Okay. Sorry. Let me play it. Here we go. Now watch. Here's the sun. It's sensing the system's coming closer. Now watch. Boom. Okay. Now I'm going to back that up and watch what happens. Okay, you ready? 12, 12, 13, 13, 14. Boom. Now watch. The planetary, it comes into focus, it comes into close to the sun right there. Now watch what the sun does to it. It grabs onto it in a split second. It goes whoop. It grabs onto it, and then what does it do? Its repulsion force kicks it back out. Boom. Now I'm going to slow it back up so you can actually watch it push it away from the sun, which makes, in physics and how the sun operates, perfect sense. It's not that it disappears that you can't see it, it's the sun pushing it away. Give me a sec. Boom. Boom. And it's funny, it lands on the number 16 in Scott's video. Boom. Now I'm going to back that up. Boom. Boom. It ejects it. And it'll continue to, see, it's pushing it away. It reacts to it, the sun's corona reacts to it, and then pushes it away. And blasts it back out further away from the sun again. And it's connected to this system right now, so it's keeping it sort of at bay. Even though it's still moving slowly, it's slowed down its rapid pace because it's reacting with our sun. Boom. There it goes. Look. Trying to come back again. Now watch. Boom. Boom. Spits it. You can see it. You can actually see it right there. I'm going to show it to you with my mouse. It's right there. There it is. Right, exactly, right there where my mouse is. It took it and it went foop and pushed it away. Oh, it's going to get through. It's going to get through. I'm just giving you an explanation. I'm not done with the video. It's slowing itself down. It's slowed down, and it's sort of like stuck in this battle right now. And it's not just with the sun. You have to understand it's battling with the rest of our planets and our system, in our solar system. So, and its own. All planets have the gravitational pull, and this Nemesis system has been affecting every one of our planets for some time now. I mean, for a long time, many, many years. But there it is, and there's the same thing. And then if I go back, now watch. Boom, it spits it right away. Boom, bye. Now, now, it's reacting to it, but at the same time, if you really look, you will see right there. The big, massive, right there. Yes, Jeffrey, that would explain how the other planet in our solar system many, 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 many years ago, years back, was destroyed, thousands of years ago, was destroyed, and how the theory that Jupiter may have been hit by this. Normally, planets move out of each other's way. The violent repulsion could cause the collisions. Yes, Jeffrey, exactly. And I think that's what makes this the destroyer. Why they call it the destroyer, wormwood, and the like. So, now wait. There it goes. Look. Thump. Thump. There it goes. Boom. Boom. And now the sun is just, as Scott says, it's blown to pieces. The sun is just, you'll start to see all it looks like this white shrapnel everywhere. Look at it. The sun just erupted and blew a huge, massive coronal hole in it. You can see all the pieces coming out of it. I mean, this was a violent, violent interaction with our sun. And you need to thank God Earth wasn't facing that side of the sun when this happened, or we'd be in for a really big ride. And we'll still feel some of the effects from this. There you go. Look, another object just came back in. Spit it back out. Spit it out again. Not the same one. One of the moons could be one of the, or that could be a chunk from the sun, but I think it's more than that. And then the video plays from the beginning. I'll let it play quickly. And you can watch the whole thing take place. There's the sun. And now, please note the sun is the white circle in the center, not the big red circle around it. Boom. 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 Now, I will show you what this object looks like when Scott... There it is. The object that Scott caught by the sun, there it is right there on the stereo camera. Take a look at that. So if those who didn't watch last night, there you go. That's what was in that coronal eruption right there. There it is. And there's the sun to the back where the shadow is there. There's the sun. And it's ejecting it. Thump. It's reacting to it, and you can see the curves right here from the coronal ejection. I can assure you that's definitely an object next to the sun, and it is a brown dwarf star. Shit's real. That's a wow photo right there. So now, if I go back to our NASA, give me a sec, let me just recenter this. I can go to the other screen, but I'd rather just recenter it and watch, listen to it. Now listen to the rest of this.
Partially circumnavigated the sun to the ecliptic where
I'm going to shift it back a little bit.
From our sky view perspective. But that was only for a few months as it quickly traversed the inner solar system.
It quickly traversed, here's the word, quickly traversed, i.e. traveled, the inner solar system.
Image number 1. Where it met the sun's gravity repulsion force, slowing its progress dramatically.
It met the sun's gravity repulsion force and slowed it dramatically. That matches what we just saw yesterday on the space cameras.
Planet X then partially circumnavigated the sun to the ecliptic where it is now.
Boom. Partially circumvented the sun to the ecliptic.
Image number 3, situated between the Earth and the sun. Also consider that Earth has been stopped in orbit due to diverted particle flows passing.
Earth has been stopped in orbit due to diverted particle
around Planet X, capturing Earth in what Zeta Talk calls a particle flow cup.
A particle flow cup. It is captured Earth, and tomorrow we'll be looking up and discussing what a particle flow cup is, and it will make a lot of sense to you of what's going on.
Imagine a ping pong ball floating above a blast of air. It hangs in place because of a similar law of airflow dynamics.
Okay, stop. I'm going to bring it back. This is why this system is hanging like a ping pong ball in space right now.
Also consider...
And I'm going to say it again. If you look at the picture I just showed you earlier that was taken from Tennessee with a great camera, okay, you will see it is hanging like a ping pong. It's going like this with our sun. It's like a ping pong ball. Bong, 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 bong. Like he's saying. I'm going to replay it. This is exactly what's going on. And I don't even just know it. I can't explain it to you, but I know it's accurate. And as you know, if I tell, I've been 95% on my shit. I'm telling you, this is exactly what's going on as we speak. And I'm going to replay again, just again, because what he has to say is super important.
Situated between the Earth and the Sun. Also consider that Earth has been stopped in orbit due to diverted particle flows passing around Planet X, capturing Earth in what Zeta Talk calls a particle flow cup. Imagine a ping pong ball floating above a blast of air. It hangs in place because of a similar law of airflow dynamics. So, lest we forget, Earth is the deer in the headlights, not Planet X. Earth is also dithering in place, like the ping pong ball.
Boom!
Relative.
It's dithering in place like a ping pong ball. It's just there. And it tries to react with the sun. It gets poop. And it's in this this particle flow cup as we speak. And it's not a good place to be.
Positions being kept between Planet X and our Sun respectively from a solar system left to right concept.
See?
So all this simply means that Planet X is rarely visible because it is stationed on the ecliptic within the glare of the Sun due to a more or less static climb up of the constituent heavenly bodies.
A static climb up the heavenly bodies. And that matches the pictures from Tennessee. It matches with what it getting closer to the Sun and reacting the way it is. It matches.
However, from an interplanetary perspective, Planet X is positioned momentarily between the Earth and our Sun.
Boom, momentarily.
State of public awareness of Planet X. Some of those in the know about Planet X and the pole shift have already moved to safe ground and others are quietly
People who already know have already moved to safer ground. And my source had told me, and I said this to Scott, and you can check with him when we talk tomorrow night. I said I was told that Congress, senators, and the like have been alerted. Okay? That doesn't mean it's happening tomorrow or in 6 months or whatever. I'm just telling you, it's in a battle right now in space. And we're going into September 23rd, which is a key planetary alignment in the entire galaxy. The solar system, and the galaxy.
Preparing for the main event now. But there are also many others who are dithering yes or no about Planet X that are waiting and wanting to have a clear, undeniable sign that PX is near, real and a clear and present danger before they commit. Who can blame them? This is a natural condition for those who tend to rely only on visual cues to absorb such an abstract and devastating message.
I think that's part of why people don't believe. They want to see something more and more visual before they get it. Well, by the time they get that visual sign, you're getting visual signs from us showing you things and people, you taking pictures and sending them in. But by the time you get, for some, they get that convincing sign and they see it, well, it's going to be too fucking late.
Of course, there does exist the attachment to the concept that the political hierarchy will take care of us. So many of those cling to the hope that there will be a public announcement alerting the public to Planet X in our solar system and what that means.
No public announcement coming.
When you consider that there has not been an announcement yet and it's been 10 years, it is not reasonable to wait for such an unlikely event. Those people otherwise studied are using parallel personality skills and other nerve pathways to augment their confidence in the truth of Planet X. Why? Because they sensed the truth of Planet X first, then started reading. Regardless, those who have studied the history of Planet X do have a basis of knowledge on the subject, so are farther ahead in being able to accept images and videos from the reliable source as valid. Of course, the reliability of images and videos of Planet X is impossible to determine without the relative knowledge experience in observing and watching for Planet X and the skill in dissecting the constituent parts of an image to determine whether it is a fake. On the other hand, there are many purported pictures and videos of Planet X on the internet, but the majority are misdiagnosed ghost images of the sun, lens flares, sun dogs, window reflections or optical illusions of one sort or another. But we are not interested in nice pictures of the sun, are we? There are still others who cannot accept the reality of Planet X until they see the raw light direct from Planet X in the sky above their heads entering their optic nerve, and even some of those will not believe until they are directly affected. These need multiple concurrent sensory stimulation real-time to break the disbelief in order to accept the existence of Planet X as a threat. Certainly this is true of all people that their body is activated to fight or flight by a direct threat, but before that, all is still abstract and subject to interpretation. Ultimately, once the yet-to-believe finally realize that Planet X is a temporary solar system member factoid and that they are about to experience the penultimate violent hazard, they will no longer need to see it. Finally, let's look at the timing of the passage of Planet X and the resulting pole shift. The best information source in the world concerning Planet X and the pole shift, Zeta Talk, has the rundown to the pole shift in 3 parallel layers.
Yes, there's layers, and that's what I'm saying. Oh, sorry, I could have just showed you the screen. I know it's late, everybody. I'm going to end it on that anyway. Point being, this is real, and it's coming, and it's approaching, and time is of the essence. And as he describes, and I fully believe now what it is that people don't want to get it. They need to see. Yet the funny thing is, they have faith in a God they have never seen. But yet the more we show them and the more evidence we show them, many still don't believe. But yet they believe in God. But they've never seen God. Because they've been programmed since they're younger to believe in God. And I'm not saying I don't believe in God. I'm using that as an example. And many will not get this until it's right upon us. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, special show. Scott from Planet X News. And the physicist, a.k.a. the doctor. See you then. This will be downloaded and put up on YouTube. Good night, and God bless.